That'll be $1,500 for your VIP table ticket. I stared at my son's text for a full minute. 2 days ago, I'd transferred him my entire Purple Heart Disability Fund. $85,000. Money I'd earned with my left leg in a Vietnamese rice paddy 53 years ago. Now David wanted me to pay to watch him get honored as Patriot Entrepreneur of the Year. I set down my phone, walked to my closet, pulled out something I hadn't worn in 20 years. My army dress uniform, still pressed, still proud, the left trouser leg pinned up where my prosthetic meets what's left of my thigh. David had no idea what was coming. You see, my son built his defense company empire on my blood money. Tonight, at the Pentagon Gala, with C-SPAN cameras rolling, he was about to learn the real cost of patriotism. Let me take you back to where this all started. My name is William Johnson. Friends call me Bill. I'm 67 years old and I've been collecting Purple Heart disability compensation for 46 years. $2,833 every month. Not much, but it added up. I lost my left leg on May 15, 1971, in Da Nang province. Stepped on a landmine while pulling my wounded radio operator to safety. The blast took everything below my knee and most of my hearing in my right ear. I spent 8 months in military hospitals, learning to walk again. But this story isn't about my war, it's about my son, David. David Johnson, CEO of Tactical Defense Solutions, 41 years old, self-made millionaire according to every business magazine that's profiled him, including that Forbes article where he called himself a second-generation patriot building tomorrow's defense technology. Second-generation patriot? Right. What those magazines don't know is that David's company was founded with my Purple Heart money, every single dollar of it. 3 months ago, David called me with this incredible opportunity. His voice was electric with excitement. Dad, I need to expand the manufacturing division. We're talking about a $23 million valuation within 2 years, but I need bridge funding, $85,000 for the initial equipment purchase. I'd been saving that money for 30 years. Every disability check, minus what I needed for rent, food, and prosthetic maintenance. It was going to be my security blanket. Maybe help pay for the assisted living facility I'll probably need in a few years. But this was my son, my only child. And he was talking about building something important, defense technology, helping soldiers. I'll do it, I told him without hesitation. The bank transfer went through on a Tuesday morning. $85,000 from my Wells Fargo savings account to Tactical Defense Solutions, LLC. The teller, a young woman named Jessica, actually gasped when she saw the amount. That's a lot of money, Mr. Johnson. Are you sure about this? I was sure. I was proud. 2 days later, David sent me that text. But here's what really burns. Here's what you need to understand about Tactical Defense Solutions and my son's self-made success story. I did some research after getting that text message. Turns out David's company doesn't just make defense technology. They specialize in prosthetics for wounded veterans. Advanced titanium limbs for soldiers who've lost arms and legs in Iraq and Afghanistan. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a knife. My son is making millions selling artificial limbs to veterans using money he got from a veteran who lost his own limb defending this country. The Pentagon contracts alone are worth $156 million annually. David's company produces the same type of prosthetic I wear every day. The difference is mine cost the VA $15,000 in 1971. David's version cost the Pentagon $43,000 each, per unit, and every single one of those sales can be traced back to my Purple Heart Disability Fund. But wait, it gets worse. I started digging deeper into David's public statements, found a video interview he did with Defense Contractor Weekly last month. He's sitting in his glass corner office wearing a $2,000 suit, talking about his vision for veteran care. At Tactical Defense Solutions, he says, looking directly into the camera, we understand sacrifice because we've lived it. My family has skin in the game. Real skin. Real skin. My leg, my blood. The interviewer asks him about his background, his inspiration for starting the company. I've always believed in serving those who serve, David says. It's personal for me. I've seen what our heroes go through, and I wanted to build something that honors their sacrifice. The man never mentions me. Never mentions the $85,000. Never mentions that his entire company was built on his father's disability compensation. Instead, he talks about his entrepreneurial vision and his innovative approach to veteran care. Self-made, right. 2 days after I gave him everything, my son decided I wasn't worth a free seat at his celebration dinner. But the most damaging discovery came when I found David's company incorporation documents. They're public record, available through the Secretary of State's office. Tactical Defense Solutions was founded on the exact same day my bank transfer cleared. Same day. The initial capital investment listed on the filing? $85,000. My $85,000. But here's the real kicker. According to the documents, the company has one founding investor listed as Private Individual Veteran Disability Compensation Funds. That's me. I'm listed as the founding investor, but David changed the paperwork to hide my identity. Made it look like anonymous veteran charity instead of his father's life savings. You won't believe what I did next. I called my son the next morning, Wednesday, 7:30 a.m. I knew he'd be in his car, driving to his Bethesda office, probably listening to some business podcast. He picked up on the third ring. "Morning, Dad. What's up?" "David, I got your text about the gala ticket." "Oh, right. Yeah, sorry about the short notice, but the venue has strict capacity limits. VIP tables are 1,500 each. It's actually a pretty good deal considering the location and the caliber of attendees." I took a deep breath. "Son, I just gave you $85,000. And I'm incredibly grateful for that investment opportunity. This is going to pay dividends for both of us." Investment opportunity, not gift, not sacrifice. Investment opportunity. "David, that money represents 46 years of disability payments. I lost my leg earning that money." Silence on the other end. Then a sigh. Dad, look, I appreciate what you went through in Vietnam. I really do. But that war was 50 years ago. The disability payments aren't exactly... you've been collecting that money for decades. It's not like you earned it all at once." My hand tightened around the phone. "I earned every penny with my leg, David. Come on, Dad. Let's be realistic here. You've been living off those checks your whole life. This is the first time you've actually done something productive with that money. Something productive. Building a company that helps wounded veterans is productive," he continued. "What you did in Vietnam was admirable, but that was ancient history. I'm building something for the future." Ancient history. "David, your company makes prosthetics for veterans." "Among other things, yes. We're diversified. We do tactical communications, field medical equipment, advanced materials research. The prosthetics division is just one segment. The most profitable segment. $156 million in Pentagon contracts." Another silence, longer this time. "Dad, how do you know about our contract numbers?" "Public information. Your quarterly reports are filed with the SEC. Look, I don't appreciate you digging into my business operations. That shows a lack of trust. I trusted you with my life savings. And I've put that money to good use. Tactical Defense Solutions is on track to be valued at $23 million by next year. Your initial contribution will be worth significantly more than what you put in." "My initial contribution?" "Your investment, your stake in the company." "What stake? You never gave me any ownership documents." "Well, obviously we'll work out the details once we complete the Series A funding round. But right now I need to focus on growth, not paperwork." I could hear his turn signal clicking, probably pulling into his reserved parking space at the office. "David, I want to come to the gala." "Of course you do. Like I said, it's 1,500 for the VIP table. There are cheaper seats available, but they're in the back. You probably wouldn't be able to hear much from there anyway." "Wouldn't be able to hear much because of my service-connected hearing loss." "I think I should be there for free, son." "Dad, this isn't a family barbecue. This is a professional event. The American Defense Industry Association's Patriot Entrepreneur Award Dinner. These people are Pentagon officials, defense contractors, military leadership. It's black tie. I've worn dress blues before." "That's not..." "Look, Dad, I'm not trying to be difficult here, but you have to understand the optics. This award is for my business achievements. I've worked incredibly hard to build this company from nothing." "From nothing? You built it from my Purple Heart money." "I built it from an initial capital investment, yes, but the vision, the execution, the client relationships, the innovation, that's all me. I've earned every dollar of success. Using prosthetics technology to help wounded veterans. Using advanced engineering and materials science to solve complex problems. The fact that it helps veterans is a nice bonus, but this is about business excellence." "A nice bonus. David, I'm your father. I gave you everything I had, and I'm grateful. But gratitude doesn't mean I owe you special treatment at professional events. This is about maintaining boundaries between family and business." "You used family money to start the business. I used investment capital. The source of that capital is irrelevant now." "The source was my leg." "Dad, you need to move past this victim mentality. What happened to you in Vietnam was unfortunate, but it was also a long time ago. I'm building something positive from that situation, something forward-looking. Victim mentality." "You know what, David? You're right. I do need to move past something." "Good, I'm glad we can..." "I need to move past thinking my son has any honor left. That's completely unfair." "Is it? You took my sacrifice money and turned it into your success story. Now you want me to pay to watch you get honored for building a company with my blood." "Dad, you're being emotional about this. This is business." "No, son. This is family, and family means something." "I have to go. I'm at the office." "David?"
"What?"
"I'll see you at the gala. If you buy a ticket, sure." He hung up. I sat there for 10 minutes, staring at my phone. Then I made another call. What he said next crossed a line I never thought he'd cross. The person I called was Colonel Sarah Williams, retired. Sarah and I served together in Vietnam, different units, but same area of operations. She's been working Pentagon liaison for veteran advocacy groups for the past 15 years. "Sarah, it's Bill Johnson." "Bill, how are you doing? Haven't heard from you in months." I need a favor, and I need to tell you something that's going to make you angry. I explained the situation. The $85,000, David's company. The text message demanding payment. Sarah listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was dead silence on the line. Bill, are you telling me your son is charging you to attend an event where he's getting honored for building a company with your Purple Heart money? That's exactly what I'm telling you. And this company makes prosthetics for wounded veterans? Primary revenue stream, Pentagon contracts worth over $100 million annually. Jesus Christ, Bill. Sarah has never been one to mince words. What do you want to do about it? I'm going to that gala, with or without a ticket. The Pentagon Event Center has serious security, Bill. You can't just walk in. I'm not planning to sneak in. I'm planning to make an entrance. What kind of entrance? I walked over to my closet, pulled out the dress uniform I'd hung up after my retirement ceremony 26 years ago. Navy blue wool with gold braid, ribbons in perfect alignment, Purple Heart, Bronze Star, Combat Infantry badge. The kind of entrance that reminds people what real sacrifice looks like. Bill, think about this carefully. You go public with this story, it's going to destroy your relationship with your son. Sarah, my son destroyed our relationship when he decided my sacrifice was worth a $1,500 surcharge. This is going to be messy. Good. It should be messy. Some things deserve to be messy. I spent the rest of the day preparing. Not preparing for war. I've had enough war for one lifetime. Preparing for accountability. First, I gathered every piece of documentation I could find. Bank transfer receipts, the original disability determination letter from 1971, medical records showing the extent of my injuries, David's company and corporation documents, the Forbes article where he called himself self-made. Then I did something I hadn't done since my retirement. I polished my dress uniform. The navy blue jacket still fit, though it was tight around the middle. The ribbons were exactly where they'd always been. Purple Heart on top, Bronze Star next to it. 37 years of military service condensed into small pieces of colored cloth. I looked at myself in the mirror. Gray-haired man in an old uniform, missing left leg replaced by government-issued titanium and plastic. 77 years old and still fighting. But this wasn't about fighting. This was about truth. The gala was set for Saturday night. Black tie event at the Pentagon Officers Club. 500 attendees including active-duty generals, defense contractors, and media representatives. C-SPAN was broadcasting live. Perfect. I called David one more time Friday afternoon. Gave him one last chance. Dad, I already told you, $1,500 for the VIP table. David, I'm asking you as your father to reconsider. I'm asking you as a professional to respect my boundaries. What if I told you I had something important to share with the audience? Dad, this isn't your event. This is my night. Built with my money. Built with investment capital that I've multiplied by a factor of 27. I want to be there when you accept that award. Then buy a ticket like everyone else? Fine. Fine. I hung up and called Sarah back. I need one more favor. What kind of favor? I need you to make some calls. Pentagon press office. Maybe some of your veteran advocacy contacts. Let them know there might be an interesting story developing at tomorrow night's gala. Bill, what are you planning? I'm planning to attend my son's award ceremony. With a ticket? With a story. Saturday evening I put on the dress uniform for the first time in 26 years. Pinned the ribbons in their proper order. Attached the Purple Heart medal to the breast pocket. I looked in the mirror one last time. The man staring back at me wasn't the broken veteran who'd given his son everything. This was Staff Sergeant William Johnson, United States Army, 1st Infantry Division. This was the man who'd crawled through enemy fire to save his radio operator. The man who'd lost his leg protecting his brothers. The man who'd spent 46 years collecting disability payments with dignity and pride. David had forgotten who his father was. Tonight he was going to remember. I made a decision that would change everything. The Pentagon Officers Club sits in the shadow of the world's largest office building. Saturday night, the parking lot was filled with black luxury sedans and limousines. Men in tuxedos and women in evening gowns walked toward the entrance under bright security lights. I pulled my 20-year-old Honda Civic into a parking space between a Mercedes and a BMW. The engine made a rattling sound when I turned it off. I sat there for a moment, watching the defense industry elite stream toward the building. These people were David's crowd now. Millionaires and generals and Pentagon procurement officers. People who made decisions about $100 billion weapons systems over cocktails and small talk. I adjusted my tie and stepped out of the car. The dress uniform drew stares immediately. Not because it was unusual. Plenty of retired military attended these events, but because it was old. The cut was from a different era. The ribbons were faded from years of storage, and there was that obvious empty left trouser leg, pinned up and pressed flat. I walked toward the main entrance with as much dignity as I could muster. The prosthetic leg clicked slightly with each step, a sound I'd learned to ignore decades ago. "Good evening, sir." The young Marine guard at the door looked crisp in his dress blues. "May I see your invitation?" "I don't have one. Sir, this is a private event, invitation only. My name is William Johnson. My son David is receiving an award tonight." The Marine consulted his tablet. "Sir, I show David Johnson on the guest list, but no +1. Did you purchase a ticket separately?" "No, I did not." Behind me, a line of formally dressed guests was beginning to form. I could hear murmured conversations, the sound of people checking their phones and adjusting their jewelry. "Sir, I'm sorry, but I can't admit you without proper credentials." "Son, I'm a Purple Heart recipient." "I understand that, sir, and I respect your service. But event security is my responsibility." A man in a tuxedo stepped forward. Early 50s, graying hair, confident bearing. "Is there a problem here?" The Marine snapped to attention. "No problem, General Morrison. Just verifying credentials." General Morrison looked at me, taking in the aged uniform and the missing leg. "Veteran, Vietnam 1st Infantry Division." "What unit?" "2nd Battalion, 16th Infantry Regiment." His expression softened slightly. "The Rangers. Tough outfit." He turned to the Marine. "What's the issue, Corporal?" "Sir, this gentleman doesn't have an invitation or ticket." General Morrison looked back at me. "Whose guest are you supposed to be?" "My son's David Johnson. He's receiving the Patriot Entrepreneur Award tonight." Tactical Defense Solutions. Impressive young man." He paused. "Why don't you have a ticket?" This was the moment. The moment when I could either back down gracefully or commit to the path I'd chosen. Because my son decided I should pay $1,500 to watch him get honored for building a company with my Purple Heart disability money. The General's eyebrows went up. Behind me, the conversation in the line went quiet. "I'm sorry, what did you say?" $85,000, General. My entire disability fund transferred to his company 3 days ago. Yesterday, he texted me a bill for tonight's dinner." General Morrison looked at the Marine Guard, then back at me. "Corporal, step aside." He moved closer, lowering his voice. "Mr. Johnson, that's a serious allegation." "It's a serious situation." "Do you have any documentation?" I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out a manila envelope. "Bank transfer receipt, text message screenshots, company and corporation documents." The General looked at the papers without touching them. "This isn't the place for family disputes." "No, sir, it's not. But apparently it's the place for my son to get honored for what he built with my sacrifice." "You're putting me in a difficult position here." "You're in an easy position, General. I'm the one who gave up his leg for this country and his life savings for his son. All in 1 week, it turns out." More people had gathered behind us. I could hear whispered conversations, the sound of phones being quietly activated to record video. General Morrison made his decision. "Corporal, escort Mr. Johnson to the guest services desk. See if there are any seats available for purchase." "Sir, all tables are sold out." "Then find him a chair somewhere. This man earned the right to be here." I followed the Marine Corporal through the lobby toward a desk marked Event Coordination. Behind us, I could hear General Morrison explaining the situation to other arriving guests. The event coordinator was a young woman in navy dress whites. "Mr. Johnson, I understand you need seating for this evening." "That's correct. Unfortunately, we're at capacity. But I can set up a chair along the back wall. You'll be able to see the stage, though you might not hear everything clearly." "That'll be fine. There's no charge for the additional seating." "I appreciate that." She handed me a temporary badge marked guest and pointed toward the main ballroom. "The cocktail reception is already underway. Dinner service begins at 7:30. I clipped the badge to my uniform jacket and walked toward the ballroom entrance. The reception was in full swing. 500 people in formal wear, holding wine glasses and small plates of appetizers. Conversations about defense contracts and budget allocations mixed with laughter and the clink of glassware. I scanned the room, looking for David. I found him near the front of the room, surrounded by a small crowd of admirers. He was wearing an expensive tuxedo, probably cost more than my monthly pension, and holding a glass of what looked like single malt whiskey. He was telling a story, gesturing with his free hand while his audience listened attentively. From this distance I couldn't hear the words, but I could see the expressions on their faces. Respect, admiration. Success attracted its own gravitational pull. Security thought they could stop me, but they underestimated something important. I walked across the ballroom toward my son. The conversations around me continued, but I noticed a few people glancing at my uniform. The contrast was obvious, their modern formal wear against my faded military dress blues. David saw me coming when I was about 20 feet away. His smile faltered for just a moment, then returned. He said something to his companions and stepped away from the group. "Dad, you came. I told you I would. I see you found a way in." General Morrison helped with that. David's eyes darted toward the back of the room, probably looking for the general. Good, that's good. I'm glad you're here. Are you? Of course, this is a big night for me. We stood there for a moment, father and son, in the middle of a room full of strangers. The noise of conversation and clinking glasses continued around us, but it felt like we were in a bubble of uncomfortable silence. You look good in the uniform, Dad. I earned the right to wear it. I know you did. Do you? David shifted his weight from one foot to the other. Dad, can we not do this here? This is my night. Built with my money. Built with investment capital that I've grown into something significant. Using technology to help wounded veterans. Using innovation to solve important problems. I looked around the room. Defense contractors, Pentagon officials, military brass, all of them here to celebrate my son's success. David, do any of these people know where your initial funding came from? They know I secured private investment from veteran-related sources. That's not the same thing. It's accurate. It's misleading. Dad, please, not here. Where then? Your office? Your house? When do we talk about what really happened? We don't need to talk about it. It's in the past. 3 days ago is not the past. David looked around nervously. A few people were starting to notice our conversation, though they were too far away to hear the words. Dad, you're making people uncomfortable. Good. This is a professional environment. This is a family situation. No, it's not. Tonight, this is business. Your business was built with my blood. David's face hardened. Dad, you need to let this go. Let what go? The fact that you took my disability money and turned it into your success story? I took investment capital and built something important. You took your father's sacrifice and erased him from the story. I didn't erase anything. You never mentioned me in interviews. My personal life is separate from my professional achievements. Your professional achievements started with my personal sacrifice. David glanced around the room again. More people were watching now, though still trying to be discreet about it. Dad, if you can't support me tonight, maybe you should leave. Support you? Yes, support my success. I already supported your success, $85,000 worth. And I'm grateful for that investment opportunity. It wasn't an investment opportunity, David. It was a father giving his son everything he had. And I've put it to good use. Have you? Look around, Dad. Look at this room. Look at the people here. This is what success looks like. I looked around the room. Wealth, power, influence. All the markers of achievement that my son valued. You know what I see, David? What? I see people who respect the uniform I'm wearing. People who understand what sacrifice means. Dad, people who would be disgusted if they knew you charged your Purple Heart father $1,500 to watch you get honored for building a company with his disability money. David's face went pale. You wouldn't. Wouldn't what? Wouldn't embarrass yourself like that. Embarrass myself? This is my night, Dad, my achievement. You can't take that away from me. I looked at my son, really looked at him, expensive tuxedo, confident posture, success radiating from every pore. He had one last chance to do the right thing. David never got that chance. During dinner, while I sat on my folding chair along the back wall, I watched my son work the room. He moved from table to table, shaking hands and accepting congratulations. The perfect image of success. I ate my chicken dinner in silence, listening to conversations about defense contracts and Pentagon budgets. Nobody sat near me. The folding chair marked me as an outsider, someone who didn't belong at the VIP tables. But I could hear everything. At 8:15, the program began. General Morrison took the stage as Master of Ceremonies. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the American Defense Industry Association's annual Patriot Entrepreneur Awards. Applause filled the room. Tonight, we recognize outstanding achievements in defense innovation and veteran support. Our award recipients represent the best of American ingenuity and patriotic service. More applause. This year's Patriot Entrepreneur of the Year has built one of the fastest-growing veteran support companies in the nation. Tactical Defense Solutions has revolutionized prosthetic technology for wounded warriors while maintaining the highest standards of quality and innovation. I watched David adjust his bow tie and smile. Please welcome the founder and CEO of Tactical Defense Solutions, David Johnson. The room erupted in applause as my son walked to the stage. Confident stride, perfect posture, $1,000,000 smile. Thank you, General Morris, and thank you all for this incredible honor. David's voice carried clearly through the sound system. Professional, polished, prepared. When I founded Tactical Defense Solutions, I had a simple mission: serve those who serve. Our wounded veterans deserve the best technology, the best support, and the best outcomes we can provide. I felt sick. This company was built on the principle that innovation and patriotism go hand in hand. We understand sacrifice because it's personal for us.
Nice.
Every prosthetic device we manufacture carries with it our commitment to excellence and our respect for the men and women who've given so much for our freedom. I started to stand up, but something made me hesitate. A conversation at the table nearest to me. Isn't that Johnson's father back there? A woman in a red dress was whispering to her companion. I think so. Heard there was some kind of family drama at the door. What kind of drama? Something about the old man not having a ticket. They had to scramble to find him a seat. The man next to her shook his head. Poor guy probably can't afford these events on a military pension. Sad. You'd think his son would take care of him. I sat back down and listened. On stage, David was building to his conclusion. The success of tactical defense solutions proves that American innovation and American values can change the world. Thank you for this honor. The applause was thunderous. Standing ovation. David raised the crystal award above his head like a trophy. After the ceremony, as people moved toward the bar for after-dinner drinks, I noticed something happening at the front of the room. David was being interviewed by a man with a small video camera. I moved closer, staying along the wall. David, congratulations on this well-deserved recognition. Can you tell us about the inspiration behind tactical defense solutions? Certainly, Brad. I've always believed that our veterans deserve better. When I saw the gap between what technology could provide and what was actually being delivered, I knew I had to act. And the company's origin story? How did you get started? It's actually a great example of American entrepreneurship. I identified the market need, developed a business plan, and secured private funding from veteran-related sources. Classic startup story. Veteran-related sources. The growth has been remarkable, from startup to major Pentagon contractor in just 2 years. We've been blessed with incredible support from the veteran community, people who understand our mission and believe in our vision. The veteran community, not his veteran father, the community. Any final thoughts for our viewers? Just this. Success comes from hard work, innovation, and staying true to your values. Tactical Defense Solutions represents the best of American enterprise. The interview ended and David shook hands with the reporter. I walked back to my folding chair and sat down. Around me the party continued. Networking, deal-making, success celebrating itself. At 10:30 I saw David talking to a group of people near the exit. One of them was typing on his phone. Another was taking notes. Then I overheard something that made my blood run cold. The father has some kind of PTSD issues, David was saying. Vietnam trauma. Sometimes he gets confused about financial arrangements. PTSD issues. Confused about financial arrangements. He thinks he deserves special treatment because of his service record, David continued. It's sad, really. We try to help him maintain his dignity. The media bought his story, but they didn't know what I knew. I left the gala at 11 p.m. and drove straight home. But I didn't go to sleep. Instead, I spent the entire night gathering evidence. Not just the documents I'd already collected. I needed everything. Every piece of paper that connected my son's success to my sacrifice. I started with my filing cabinet. 46 years of disability paperwork, medical records, and financial documents. The original Purple Heart citation signed by my commanding officer in 1971. The battlefield medical report describing my injuries in clinical detail. Then I moved to my computer. David thought I was just some confused old veteran, but I'd been teaching myself technology for years. I knew how to research. I downloaded every public document related to tactical defense solutions, SEC filings, Pentagon contract awards, business registration documents from the Maryland Secretary of State. David's company was required to disclose certain information, and all of it was available online. The numbers told a story David never wanted revealed. Tactical Defense Solutions was incorporated on May 23, 2024. The same day my $85,000 bank transfer cleared. Initial capital investment listed exactly $85,000. Source of funding, private individual veteran disability compensation. That was me, hidden behind corporate language, but still me. The company's first Pentagon contract was awarded 6 weeks later, $12.3 million for prosthetic limb manufacturing. The contract specifications were publicly available, advanced titanium prosthetics for lower limb amputees, just like me. I printed everything, bank records, corporate filings, contract awards, medical documentation. By 4 a.m., I had a complete paper trail connecting every dollar of David's success to my Purple Heart Disability Fund. But I needed more than just documents. I needed witness testimony. At 8 a.m. Sunday morning, I called Colonel Sarah Williams. Sarah, I need your help documenting something. Bill, please tell me you didn't do anything stupid at that gala. I attended my son's award ceremony and listened to him lie about how he built his company. What kind of lies? He told a reporter his funding came from veteran-related sources and described it as classic startup story. Then he told a group of Pentagon officials that I have PTSD and get confused about financial arrangements. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Bill, what do you want to do? I want you to help me document the truth. How? Call your contacts at the Pentagon, the American Defense Industry Association, the veteran advocacy groups. Ask them about conflict of interest policies for defense contractors. What kind of conflict of interest? The kind where you build a prosthetics company using your disabled veteran father's compensation. Then hide that relationship from the procurement officers who award you contracts. Jesus, Bill, that's serious. It gets worse. David's company is charging the Pentagon $43,000 per prosthetic unit. My prosthetic cost the VA $15,000 in 1971. Adjusted for inflation, that's about $55,000 in today's dollars. So he's actually charging less than inflation-adjusted historical costs? No, Sarah. He's charging $43,000 for technology that should cost less, using research and development funded by his father's disability money. You're alleging fraud? I'm alleging he lied about his funding sources to win government contracts. Sarah sighed. Bill, this is going to get ugly fast. It's already ugly. My son took my sacrifice money and turned me into his sob story. I spent Sunday making phone calls. Sarah connected me with her contacts at veteran advocacy organizations. I reached out to the Veterans of Foreign Wars chapter where I'd been a member for 30 years. I called the Disabled American Veterans Organization. Every conversation was the same. Shock, anger, offers to help. By Sunday evening, I had something David never expected, an army of witnesses. But the most damaging evidence came from an unexpected source. At 6 p.m., my phone rang, unknown number. Mr. Johnson, this is Brad Mitchell from Defense Contractor Weekly. I interviewed your son last night. I remember. Sir, I've been doing some research based on our conversation about your son's claims regarding company funding and your situation. What did you find? Well, I found some inconsistencies in Mr. Johnson's public statements, and I have to ask, do you really have PTSD-related confusion about financial arrangements? Mr. Mitchell, I have combat-related hearing loss and a service-connected prosthetic leg. My mind is fine. That's what I thought. Mr. Johnson, would you be willing to go on record with your version of events? What kind of record? We publish investigative pieces about defense industry practices, conflict of interest, procurement irregularities, that kind of thing. Are you saying my son's company might have procurement irregularities? I'm saying your son's story doesn't add up. And in the defense industry, stories that don't add up usually hide bigger problems. The numbers told a story David never wanted revealed. Tuesday morning, Brad Mitchell published his investigation in Defense Contractor Weekly. The headline read, Patriot Entrepreneur Built Empire on Father's Purple Heart Fund, Hid Relationship from Pentagon. The article was devastating. Mitchell had done his homework. Every claim documented. Every quote verified. Every dollar traced from my disability fund to David's corporate bank account. But the real bombshell came Wednesday morning. The Pentagon Inspector General announced an investigation into potential procurement fraud at Tactical Defense Solutions. Questions about conflict of interest disclosure. Questions about funding source transparency. Questions about David's self-made claims and contract applications. That's when David called me. Dad, what the hell have you done? I told the truth. You've destroyed everything I've built. I've exposed what you built it with. The Inspector General is launching a formal investigation. Our stock price is collapsing. We might lose our Pentagon contracts. Maybe you should have thought about that before you charged me $1,500 to watch you lie about your success. Dad, you don't understand. This isn't just about me. We have 43 employees. Their jobs are on the line. Their jobs were built on a lie. It wasn't a lie. It was a business arrangement. What business arrangement? You never gave me equity. You never gave me ownership documents. You took my money and erased me from your story. I was protecting your privacy. By lying to federal procurement officers? Silence on the line. David, there's something else you should know. What? I'm holding a press conference Thursday afternoon. Pentagon press room. Colonel Williams arranged it through her contacts. Dad, please don't do this. Don't do what? Tell the truth about my own sacrifice? You'll destroy me. You destroyed yourself when you decided my Purple Heart money wasn't worth acknowledging. Thursday afternoon, I put on my dress uniform one more time and drove to the Pentagon. The press room was packed. Defense reporters, veteran advocacy journalists, C-SPAN cameras. Colonel Williams met me at the security checkpoint and escorted me inside. You ready for this, Bill? I've been ready for this my whole life. At 2 p.m., I walked to the podium. Dozens of cameras pointed at me. Reporters with notebooks and recording devices. Live television coverage. I set my manila envelope on the podium and looked at the audience. My name is William Johnson, Staff Sergeant, United States Army, retired. I lost my left leg in Vietnam on May 15, 1971, while pulling my wounded radio operator to safety. Complete silence in the room. For 46 years, I've collected Purple Heart disability compensation, $2,833 per month. I saved that money for 30 years. I opened the manila envelope and pulled out the bank transfer receipt. 3 months ago, I gave my son David Johnson every penny of those savings, $85,000. He told me he needed it to expand his defense company, Tactical Defense Solutions. I held up the bank transfer document so the cameras could see it. This is the receipt. $85,000 transferred to Tactical Defense Solutions, LLC on May 23, 2024. I set down the receipt and picked up another document. This is the corporate filing for Tactical Defense Solutions. Filed the same day my transfer cleared. Initial capital investment, $85,000. Source listed as private individual, veteran disability compensation. Murmurs rippled through the press room. That private individual is me, the man my son charged $1,500 to attend his award ceremony. I pulled out my phone and held up the text message. 2 days after I gave him my life savings, my son sent me this message. That'll be $1,500 for your VIP table ticket. The murmurs grew louder. My son's company makes prosthetics for wounded veterans. The irony is that he built that company using disability money from a wounded veteran, his father. I reached into the envelope one more time and pulled out David's Forbes interview. This is a magazine article where my son describes himself as a self-made entrepreneur and claims his company was built from nothing. He never mentions his father. He never mentions the Purple Heart Fund. He never mentions the $85,000 that made everything possible. I set down the magazine and looked directly into the C-SPAN camera. David, if you're watching this, I want you to know something. I'm not angry that you used my money. I'm angry that you erased me from your story. A reporter raised her hand. Mr. Johnson, what do you want to see happen as a result of this disclosure? I want honesty. I want my son to acknowledge where his success really came from, and I want other wounded veterans to know that their sacrifices matter. Another reporter, are you seeking financial compensation? I'm seeking respect. Respect for the sacrifice that built his empire. Respect for the veterans his company claims to serve. Mr. Johnson, your son has suggested you might be confused about the financial arrangements due to combat trauma. How do you respond to that? I pulled out my medical records and set them on the podium. I have combat-related hearing loss and a service-connected amputation. My mind is fine. These documents prove every claim I've made tonight. The questions continued for 30 minutes. Every answer backed up with documentation, every claim supported by evidence. When it was over, I walked out of the Pentagon and drove home. At 6 p.m., David's company issued a statement acknowledging that initial funding had come from a family member's personal savings and expressing regret for any confusion in previous statements. Too little, too late. By Thursday night, the story was everywhere. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, social media exploded with #PurpleHeartBetrayal hashtags. Veterans groups issued statements supporting my position. The Pentagon announced that David's company would be suspended from future contract considerations, pending the outcome of the Inspector General investigation. Friday morning, David called me one last time. Dad, I'm sorry. Are you? Yes, I should have handled this differently. You should have handled this honestly. I know. Do you? Do you really know what you did wrong? I hurt you. I hurt our family. You took credit for my sacrifice and then charged me to watch you celebrate. I'm sorry. David, sorry doesn't give me my money back. Sorry doesn't give me my dignity back. What can I do to fix this? You can start by telling the truth about everything. Not just the funding source. Everything. What do you mean? I mean the prosthetics contracts, the $43,000 price tags, the profit margins built on veteran suffering. Dad, that's business. No, David, that's exploitation. That afternoon, the Pentagon Inspector General released a preliminary report. Tactical Defense Solutions had failed to disclose material relationships in their contract applications. The company would face suspension and potential criminal charges. David's $23 million empire was collapsing, and for the first time in years, I felt like my sacrifice meant something. 6 months later, the Pentagon Inspector General released their final report. Tactical Defense Solutions had systematically misrepresented their funding sources in federal contract applications. The company agreed to pay $4.2 million in penalties and forfeit all current Pentagon contracts. David personally was banned from federal contracting for 5 years. The 43 employees he'd worried about, most of them found jobs with legitimate defense contractors within 90 days. Turns out, experienced prosthetics engineers are in high demand. David himself moved to Phoenix and started selling commercial real estate. His LinkedIn profile describes him as an entrepreneur with experience in technology and veteran services. He doesn't mention Tactical Defense Solutions. We haven't spoken since that last phone call. Colonel Sarah Williams was promoted to Brigadier General and asked me to attend her ceremony. I wore my dress uniform again, this time as an honored guest, not a gatecrasher. The veterans of foreign wars asked me to speak at their national convention about advocating for veteran rights. Turns out my story resonated with a lot of people who'd felt invisible or forgotten. Defense Contractor Weekly hired me as a consulting expert on veteran affairs. Apparently, my experience investigating my own son gave me credibility in exposing fraud. I still live in the same apartment, still collect my monthly disability payments, but now I also get speaking fees and consulting income. For the first time since Vietnam, I feel like my experience has value beyond my wounds. The best part? I got a letter from a young veteran named Marcus Thompson, Purple Heart recipient, lost his right arm in Afghanistan. He'd been struggling with a prosthetic that didn't work properly. After reading about my story, he investigated his own prosthetic manufacturer, found the same pattern: overpriced equipment, inferior technology, executives getting rich off veteran suffering. His company is now under investigation by 3 different federal agencies. The letter ended with 8 words that made everything worthwhile. Thank you for showing us our voices matter. My son wanted to build his success on my sacrifice while keeping me silent about it. Instead, he taught me that speaking truth about sacrifice is the most powerful weapon a veteran can carry. Some boundaries, once established, change everything.